Hi, welcome to our Wednesday TNT. Tomorrow is Anzac Day, specifically important for Australians and New Zealanders. I'll be at the dawn service and that'll be at Kamala Beach at 5:30 a.m. and that will be next to the police station. So I'll give you some more details later in the program. But when I was living in Phuket for all those years, there was two conversations. One, there's too many tourists, and there's not enough tourists. That was basically the thread of most of the conversations. And those conversations are on again in the media, which we'll get to in just a moment. But we'll start with this story. This is from the PatiaNews.com. Thai cabinet approves visa exemption for Russian tourists, but changed from 90 to 60 days. Now, it was a lot of controversy when Russian people were offered a 90-day visa exemption. Most of the 68 or so countries that have a visa exemption are given 30 days. Plus, you can extend that another 30 days later. To this story, and in a move to boost tourism and economic growth. It's amazing how they've spun this story. The Thai cabinet's announced an extension of the visa-free scheme for Russian visitors. Starting from May the 1st, Russians can enjoy a 60-day visa exemption, but this is shorter than before, replacing the previous 90-day program set to conclude at the end of April. And a government spokesperson says the decision's been made to enhance tourism revenue and invigorate the national economy. So they're cutting down the number of days that Russians can stay in Thailand visa-free from 90 to 60 days, but that will enhance tourism revenue and invigorate the national economy. Obviously went to the wrong maths classes when I was younger, and the initiative proposed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs reflects the government's commitment to fostering international relations and tourism. And the Patia News notes the reduction in time frame for the visa exemption is not entirely surprising. However, after several viral incidents involving Russian tourists, mostly in Phuket, and complaints from local residents, also mostly in Phuket, of over-tourism. And at the same time, there's also been concerns from some netizens that some of the Russian tourists were not truly tourists, but trying to escape potentially being drafted into service in the ongoing military conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So the government's certainly not turning off the tap to Russian tourism, but it's certainly just trying to stem the flow a little bit. Let's go to our next story as we look at over-tourism in Thailand. We go to the Bangkok Post. Premier urged to tackle over-tourism. It's certainly a term we're going to be hearing a lot more of, even though remembering that the numbers of tourists coming to Thailand at the moment is only about 80% of the numbers back in 2019. They weren't talking about over-tourism then. Let's go on with this story. With opposition to over-tourism arising in many countries, Thai tourism operators are urging the government to seriously consider the nation's carrying capacity, while some have suggested collecting a 300 baht tourism tax. As it rears its ugly head again, as the Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin has vowed to make 2025 a landmark year for tourism, the Secretary-General of the Federation of Thai Tourism Associations said a white paper that the Federation will present to the government will include solutions to prevent over-tourism, which was seen in Thailand before the pandemic. And this concept of over-tourism's been in the media quite a lot recently. Let's go to this one talking about Bali. Bali named as one of the world's over-tourism hotspots in 2023. In Bali, sea, sun, sand tourists threaten ancient rainforest. Not quite the Bali it used to be. This is what over-tourism is doing to the island. And specific to the Canary Islands, thousands of Canary Island residents protest over-tourism. Thousands protest against over-tourism in Spain's Canary Islands, etc. And Amsterdam bans construction of new hotels as a way to fight over-tourism. Al Jazeera asked, how is over-tourism affecting local communities? And Euro News, go fucking home, the European cities where locals are fighting back against over-tourism. So the Thais don't want to be left out of this one. Let's see what they're saying. With a projection of 40 million tourists, major destinations like Phuket, Samui and Patia are on the verge of facing over-tourism. And they say Phuket's already witnessed traffic congestion and water shortages, while its international airport ran out of available slots for airlines. things that the islands certainly faced before. He said one of the key strategies is to attract tourists from major hubs to the country's secondary cities that offer plenty of potential attractions and space to accommodate a significant flow of tourists. Well, it's the old build it and they will come strategy, but I mean, you can't tell tourists to go there when they want to go there. There should be incentives for airlines, he says, who are keen to operate direct flights to provincial airports, such as Utapao, and those serving Konkan and Krabi. This would alleviate congestion among gateways such as Phuket Airport or Suvarnabhumi Airport, and would also help create regional business opportunities. Well, you can't just instantly divert the flow of tourists from one direction to another. It takes decades for new tourist locations to become popular and people actually wanting to go there. The Vice President of the Tourism Council of Thailand says the government should reconsider collecting the 300 baht tourism fee to help fund tourism development, as the plan and all related preparations have now been finalised. Well, not quite, because they couldn't quite figure out how to get the airlines to collect the fee, which is what they wanted. But he said essential funds would benefit infrastructure development in second-tier provinces to attract tourists away from congested locations and improve attractions that have deteriorated due to over-tourism. Well, I just don't think this is a quick fix. Certainly improving the infrastructure at some of these overcrowded locations would help, but that's not a quick fix either. He said a tax of only 300 baht would not discourage foreign tourists from visiting Thailand, as some parties have raised as a concern, since the fee is inexpensive compared to some nations, such as Bhutan, which collects a tourist tax of over $100 per night. Many countries today are collecting taxes from tourists, either through flight tickets or hotel stays. And Thailand should start a trial phase of tourism tax collection through a mobile application or kiosks. So, okay, you're the minister for a day. What are you going to do about this alleged over-tourism? How are you going to solve it? Are you going to get people to try and go to other locations? Are you perhaps going to give them some sort of incentives to go to other locations? Anyway, the PatiaMail.com has weighed into this question as well. Officials fear Patia and Phuket are overcrowded hotspots, and with projections that the calendar year 2024 will see 20 million overseas visitors, that's parallel to back in 2019, both the environment and tourist comfort are under dire threat. The most badly affected cities are Phuket and Patia, where there are respectively 118 and 99 overseas visitors for every local resident, in research conducted by Money Transfers. And Chris Flynn, the Chief Officer of the World Tourism Association, says that Thai authorities don't seem to have determined what they can take before they break. And the writer of the article says the most obvious signs of over-tourism in Patia are awesome traffic congestion made worse by tour buses overcrowding the inadequate roads, and road repairs being conducted at several points in or near the city centre. And the situation could soon be made worse by the prospect of more passengers arriving at Utapao Airport near Patia. At the moment, some airlines decline to utilise that base as there's no regular bus passenger transport into Patia. In recent months, Thai tourism numbers have surged, partly as a result of the abandonment of holiday visas for huge markets such as Russia, China and India. One cabinet minister said, "We want quality tourists from now on." We keep on hearing this message year after year, but the mass tourism, the big tour buses and the $0 tourism keeps happening. So plenty to digest there, a few more tourism sort of related stories coming up. But tomorrow morning, the dawn service for Anzac Day 2024 will be held at Kamala Beach near the police station. And I'll put some more details on our community thread in the YouTube channel if you'd like to get some details. Also, big thumbs up to our sponsor, 5 Star Marine at 5starmarinephuket.com for a spectacular bespoke trip out onto Pangar Bay to visit all those beautiful islands that you see in the postcards. Moving on to this story, the Prime Minister, never one to shirk from a possibility. He says Thailand's keen to host F1 race on the streets of Bangkok. My immediate thought is, well, how the hell are they going to do that? Let's try and find out. Formula One fans could be treated to the sight of Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton roaring around the steamy streets of Bangkok, with Thailand keen to host a race. And Thai officials took to local media that they envisaged the race being run on a street circuit, possibly around the city's historic centre. The Prime Minister said Thailand has the capacity to host Formula One in Bangkok. If successful, I'm confident that our country will bring impressive memories to others because we have the right potential, capacity and Thai people's hospitality. This is a map of central Bangkok. The red circle shows that historic area of the Ratanakosin Island. We've got a blue cross there that's where MBK is, a green cross for Icon Siam, and a red cross for the Asok intersection. 3 major locations there in the city, just so you can get an idea of where they're suggesting they might host this race. Actually, very interested to know where you think Thailand might be able to hold a F1 race. I went to the Melbourne Formula One probably 3 or 4 times, and it was very well run, controversially around a man-made lake called Albert Park. So exactly where they could do it in Bangkok, I'm not sure whether you could do it around Ratanakosin Island. It's got a lot of historic and royal significance, and I don't think that would be getting the tick of approval. But where else could you do it? I mean, down the middle of Sukhumvit, a few chicanes through the shopping centres? I just don't know. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Now, speaking of getting around Bangkok and other parts of Thailand, you've got the pedestrians, you've got the traffic, and sometimes the two don't mix. This published in thepatianews.com, viral video shows taxi striking pedestrian at Bangkok crosswalk. Public outcry ignites debate on road safety laws. So a few years ago, it was a pretty young Thai ophthalmologist who was run over at an intersection that ignited the public interest on these sadly frequent events. This time it was caught on video. And as we can see there, just on the Twitter feed alone, it's been viewed 3.1 million times. It's also been published on a lot of other media, so you can imagine it's been seen a lot. And Thai social media users posted a video of a pedestrian being hit by a taxi while legally crossing the road at a crosswalk in front of Asiatique, the riverfront. And according to the police report, the taxi driver reportedly told police he was headed outbound on the Charun Krong Road and drove past the crosswalk light in front of Asiatique. As a result, Tana, the pedestrian, was directly hit by the taxi and was injured. Thai netizens criticised the Thai laws against road traffic violators, saying the punishment was too light, causing nobody to strictly follow the traffic laws. And initially, the taxi driver reportedly confessed his wrongdoings before being recorded in a daily diary as evidence. The police were in the process of waiting for the body examination of the victim, who was safe, and I think that's important to note, from the physicians as evidence to the case before taking legal action against the taxi driver. Well, you can see there, the man, that's just a split second before he was hit. He was hit fair and square and went bumping down the road. So we wish him well for his recovery, and we'll be watching to see if there's any discernible change in the behaviour of some drivers on the roads following this high-profile and highly covered incident. Well, it's been hot, damn hot, and you can't buy a fan around this area. I can't even get the air conditioning guy to come and check our air conditioning units. They're all flat chat. Had an impact on the electricity supply. ThaiPBSWorld.com notes electricity use hit new high on Monday night as Thailand continues to swelter. It was just about 9 p.m. on Monday night when nearly 36,000 megawatts of electricity were consumed. And the last record was at 9:41 on May the 6th last year, when 34,826 megawatts were consumed. So the hot season continued well into May last year, and it looks like it's probably going to be doing the same this year. More new records may be set in coming days if the already scorching weather gets even hotter. Today, the Meteorological Department forecast hot weather across the country, especially in northern provinces where temperatures are forecast to reach 44 degrees Celsius. Now, that's 111 Fahrenheit. Just so our American friends can get a bit of a sense of how hot it actually is at the moment. Not just hot, but of course you've got the humidity as well, which just adds to the discomfort. Hopefully you're a bit more up to date with things happening around Thailand. Might see you at the dawn service tomorrow morning. Obviously we'll be doing the program from Phuket tomorrow. In the meantime, please subscribe to the channel, keep cool, and we'll see you tomorrow.